Today, we need to talk about a recent situation that fans were concerned over and think Jung Kook is in danger. We also need to get into a photo that had gone viral that appeared to be Jung Kook in the shower. We also have Jung Kook talking about Megan Thee Stallion getting shot. Hey Dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Hate it or not, make sure to subscribe with the notification bell on. Grab a dumpling, hastily mug merch, and let's go. Jung Kook recently talked about Megan Thee Stallion, and people were so touched by what he said. Now, if you don't know what is going on, let me give some backstory here. Megan did the remix for Butter, and her verse became so iconic within the fandom. She then went and did the performances with BTS, including the performance where she wore this beautiful pink outfit. The outfit was then ridiculed and mocked by a lot of people in the fandom, and people slut-shaming her because they believed that BTS should never be exposed to such quote-unquote indecency, when in reality these people are literally making it sound like it's okay to slut shame a woman, especially one that comes near BTS. BTS members of course got somewhat close to Megan, which of course irked people. But you can tell BTS members wish the best for Megan, and Megan has never said anything bad about BTS. Recently, Jung Kook came out and talked about the collaboration and talked about that specific performance. He mentioned that Megan did such a great job, especially since her leg was hurting. Now, of course, if you had not been following the journey that Megan was going on, you'd have no idea what was happening here and what Jung Kook was referring to. Well, apparently this performance was around the time when Megan was shot in her leg. This was an absolutely terrifying situation that made literal headlines, and Megan actually thought she was going to die. And it makes the situation where she was on stage being slut-shamed that much worse. Because in a situation where her leg was obviously hurting, she was being called slutty with not a single one of those fans showing her any sympathy. And people wonder why I called those people sociopaths. But also, if the issue was that she was being too sexual or was possibly hitting on the BTS boys, they need to think about the fact that when you're recovering from a bullet wound, you're probably not thinking about dating someone, but all you're trying to do would probably just be to get through the day. I've said so before, we all have problems, and you never know what someone is going through. We are all just trying to make a living, live our life, and then die. Everything else, the drama, the hate, that's all so unnecessary. I also think that a lot of these people saying that calling Megan those terrible things are obviously people who live in a bubble, because the Megan shooting was huge news. And fine, if these people want to live in a bubble, then so be it. But they also assume BTS members live in a bubble with them, and the boys don't. They're much closer to reality. These words that Jung Kook had on Megan really spoke volumes on their relationship and how much they like each other platonically. The fans got really emotional and made fans really appreciate her performance and how much energy she was giving on stage. And let's not forget how difficult it would be for someone who likely has PTSD, because being held at gunpoint and being shot is traumatic, for them to make a public appearance in front of thousands and stand there and be the center of attention. Not only that, continue to go on stage and do her thing even after the fake BTS fans were sending her death threats. We also have to appreciate that the job of being a celebrity or public figure is just not the same as before. Celebrities in the past were always just considered celebrities. They were considered almost royalty. They were untouchable and not relatable. Since the rise of social media and all that, we as a society collectively have somewhat agreed that we don't want to support someone who acts like they're royalty. So then celebrities have to act relatable and like one of your friends. What this does is it makes people believe they actually know the boys, when in reality these moments that we see that are quote-unquote relatable, cute, fun, are moments that are curated. You need to think how we can sit there and watch them live stream for hours and yet somehow get surprised when we hear that they have a brother or something, or how we all act shocked when we hear they might be dating. If we knew them, then there's no need to speculate if they're dating. We would know. So this is just to prove that we don't know them. But it's getting dangerous because people are coming to airports acting like they know the members and then doing things that could endanger the artist's life. Jung Kook was at the airport recently when he came out. He ended up waving to everyone and everyone went crazy. Very quickly we saw a huge crowd form around him, and it even appeared that people were trying to touch him. At one point it even appeared like Jung Kook had almost tripped. The security guard behind Jung Kook even tried to grab him, and this is so incredibly dangerous. Jung Kook luckily tripped because there was a lot of pushing, and I think he was trying to bow, but it's definitely hard to bow and walk at the same time in a very crowded area. And if Jung Kook had indeed fallen, then it would likely be very hard for security guards behind him to stop walking in time, as there were potentially hundreds of people pushing. So the guard, along with many other people, would have tripped and fallen on top of Jung Kook, and it's just very dangerous. He could have gotten stepped on, other people could have gotten stepped on. I'm not even too worried about Jung Kook. He's strong, he's got all those abs, but these other fans at the airport look like skinny girls or little girls, and the chances of them recovering from being trampled is going to be lower. And now I want to clarify that I am not for people going to the airport and endangering Jung Kook. For this exact reason, it's hard for me to want to see any artist go through this. My opinion is still this is something they want. This is something the industry and labels want and expect of their idols. I do think there's more that can be done in terms of safety. I think we can get better security, maybe have some sort of barricade, something that can really just stop them from running. No one should be running when there's hundreds of people there. That is so incredibly dangerous, and at this point, the airport themselves should step in and do something. People online were also concerned after a photo was recently going around where it was a picture of seemingly Jung Kook in the shower. And I want to clarify, this is an edited photo, and as usual, I'm not going to give credit because I don't want to send hate to the editor. But if you're watching and want credit, feel free to reach out. The photo obviously shows a fake Jung Kook in a very compromising position, and given that there was recently a shirtless vlog of Jung Kook in the shower for his GCF in Budapest video, it makes it very believable that there exists video of him naked or in the shower. Apparently someone went around and used this edited photo to claim that they hacked into Jung Kook's phone and leaked to this very compromising photo. The photo itself doesn't really show anything, nor is it bad, but of course in K-pop standards it is, because men are supposed to be nuns and cannot have a torso. People of course were also concerned when they thought that the photo was real to say that they fear that Jung Kook's privacy is being broken into, whether that is his home or his phone. I can totally understand that concern, but I think a lot of people aren't sure how hacking even works. It's extremely difficult to hack someone's phone, and the whole situation with the celebrity nudes being leaked way back in 2014 was not a situation that would probably ever happen again. If you're not familiar, almost every big female celebrity had their nudes leaked from the iCloud back in 2014. However, a big contributor to this is the lack of security on Apple's behalf, which has then been fixed. Also, the idea that Jungkook's nudes would even be leaked would mean that Jungkook is taking them. However, knowing the status he has as an idol, who is he sending this to? Any person he sends it to could leak it, and knowing that the cloud could potentially be leaked, taking nudes or sending them have likely been so ingrained into him to not do since the start of his training. Of course, insinuating that these photos exist would mean that he has a lover or someone that he is interested in right now, when he has said over and over again that he is focusing on his career. It's interesting because this is something that people can't relate to, this idea that someone might not be interested in dating, but this 100% exists. If your goal is to not be in a relationship but to take over the world, then it actually is quite easy to not ever think about dating. And thus you have these huge famous businessmen who don't lose their virginity until much later in life, or these CEOs that only after they're rich do you actually see them start to date. Because if you want to make a lot of money or take over the world, you simply cannot just focus on things that everyone else is. The saying goes, if you want to be extraordinary, you cannot do ordinary things. You do average, you get average results, which is fine for a lot of people and nothing to be ashamed of. Not everyone wants a super flashy life, but someone like Jung Kook does. So he is not focused on things that most people are. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks for this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.